Hey, Dr. Myers, Dr. Derm, dark spots. How do we get them? What are they from? Dark spots are either A, freckles that you're born with, ephelids, and that's just faint extra melanin in the melanocytes along the epidermis. Number two would be sunspots that we develop, gosh, as early as like in our 20s, but really each decade it kind of progresses. So tons in your 90s and a lot in your 80s and plenty in your 70s and lots in your 60s, but you kind of go down. But any bit like 30s on, you can get sunspots. So these are caused by sun-inducing permanent increased melanogenesis and melanin deposition in the melanocytes along the epidermis in these sun-exposed areas. That's it. Number three, if we're numbering things, would be seborrheic keratosis. That would be the next one. If the sunspot has texture and thickness to it, we call those seborrheic keratosis. Those are kind of those stuck on rough spots. They're warty. We get those in sun-exposed areas, on the arms, on the trunks, even on the face. You can have these, scrape these off or burn these off or freeze these off cosmetically if we want to. The only other two things that I'd mention is that we see increased pigmentation perhaps would be like, if we went back to the most basic, we would say cafe au laits, which are birthmarks. So kind of these darker brown spots on our bodies. Very similar phenomenon. Like if you looked in the pathology of an ephelid and a cafe au lait, so a freckle and a birthmark, it would look almost identical. They'd be hard to differentiate because they'd look very similar under the microscope. So the same process that's going on in the two of those are actually fairly similar, but it's probably how broad. Like birthmarks are going to be more than just a tiny little spot such as a freckle. Other darkening that we see is melasma. So melasma is often in cheeks. It can be even on the forehead, you could have it on the chin, you could occasionally have it on the arms. It's more common in skin of color, and it is caused by two things. It's caused by sun and a change in hormones. I guess physiologically, similar things are happening as you would see maybe in sunspots, but there's a different thing that's powering this. It's not just the sun interacting with the body, but it's actually hormones. And so you can get a much more darker, much more increased deposition of melanosomes, which are collections of melanin within the melanocytes. And it's actually a little bit harder to treat. I guess one other thing to think of is post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. So say someone gets a scrape on their arm and there's healing, but during the healing time, you get red blood cells and you get pigment cells and you get collagen remodeling and whatnot. You can get excess melanin deposition in these spots, and so you can have like a stain on your arm for a long term. And part of it could be iron from the red blood cells that were there to try to clean up the debris and that were, part of the original bleeding, but also actually melanin from the process. That is your ride through the pigmented lesions that we see. Hope that helps. Thanks for watching. Go out there and protect yourself against sunspots. Boom.